I remember that.
So, welcome everyone to Sunday's My Hero Academia manga stream, where we are covering the latest chapter that's posted for My Hero Academia, chapter 304. But first, there's something that we always do, Mark, and what would that be?
Recap episode!
Yes, the recap episode of Actually, hold on. Yes, okay, yeah, we're working. All right, the recap episode, which is 303. From the top of my head, that was pretty much most of it was still the hospital scene, and we just caught up with Hawks and Best Jeanist, right?
As they were discussing with Endeavor all that was gonna, hey, we want to come with you on your little family venture. Just remember, you can rely on us too. We're the big three, and so we're gonna help you.
Nice. And so we're gonna get that settled, but first, Hawks is trying to come up with a statement to bring up to the public about like what's going to be the next approach. But one of the things that was a big problem that he couldn't really find any resolution to was the fact that I guess that this would be
One for all.
One for Shiggy. All for Shiggy.
Well, not just
say
that,
something
it's
about
pretty much just one for all and how it relates to all for one.
Yes. And so that's when Endeavor was like, oh wait, I remember when Deku was saying this. Something about Deku? And that prompted Hawks and Jeanist to go on by and go to Midoriya's room, but only to be stopped by literally well, not all of them, but like Class 1A just at their antics, holding Bakugo.
Explosion, murder, god, dynamite. I see you're okay. Do I look okay?
I love it. I love that he kept it. I guess I'll read the chat. But yeah, no, that's when we see that
when they find out that Izuku is still asleep, and they told Hawks All Might asked for the two of them to be alone. That's when Hawks is like, All Might.
All Might.
And then that was the briefest summary we were able to give right there.
Mm-hmm. I would say so, yeah, because there was not a lot of things happening. A lot of the details in that chapter were revolved around just, I guess, like more, because I know that like the funny thing was the illegal denim part, and then
yeah, we've been memeing that very hard.
Yes. All of a sudden, half and half Stewie is like a faint memory.
Half Stewie.
Half and half stew. But yeah, so I guess we'll just go ahead and get started with chapter 304. Unless there was anything else we wanted to like touch up on.
Nah, this is a good one right here. I say we jump right into it.
Let's just jump right into it. Okay, so
let's do it.
Chapter 304. Now we'll go ahead and start it off. We are immediately still in the room with All Might and Deku. And here we have All Might speaking in his thoughts. I can feel one for all within the boy, but only very faintly. Which is already a question to me already. See, all these thoughts just popping in, like in Deku. How's everyone faring? Gran Torino. Oh man, I guess it doesn't really matter the order. It's just like
top to bottom.
Top to bottom. Gran Torino, Endeavor, Rocklock, Kachan, Todoroki, Manuel, Aizawa Sensei, Ida, Hado, Togata, Ryuku. Please be okay, everyone. Oh, okay, I have to actually select the page here. Good Lord. I just
chairs, boy.
I just hopped into the next page and oh my god, this is a page and a half. This is oh wait, I guess that's a spoiler one. Yeah. My god. So oh my god, Deku's gonna get the talk. But just to illustrate this is absolutely wild for me to see. We have 50% Deku, right? Or 45%, like somewhere within that range, right? So you can see like more like of the skin on him on the back.
More of his body.
But I think Horikoshi or anyone who designed like this version of Deku, seeing the visages of everyone, still wants to illustrate the fact that like Deku is still mostly not complete here. but a good amount of it you can now see. But yeah, so this is number 304, Izuku Midoriya and Toshinori Yagi.
We see we have the fifth successor here. Mentioning something to Izuku here.
Mm-hmm. And oh my god. So
You want me to take
like
it? Or you want to take it?
I guess I'll take it because I'm just looking at I'm looking respectfully.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, is that All Might to the left, or is it actually like the to the farthest chair? I guess I'll find out because the left
All Might is the
panels,
one that looks like fire.
yeah, because he's just like transitioning. But yeah, here we go. This is the originator. Sorry, oh, I should really go to the fifth. Before you wake up, we gotta have a chat. The first, sorry to force this on you in such trying times, as we have
Those the that's the
two
second and the third. We actually see what they kind of look like now. They're both men, for as far as we can tell.
yes, and they're facing the wall, away from like this round table without the table.
Both of them look like they're fairly made for combat.
Yeah, or at least I don't know. Everyone else is like threads like up here in the chairs. I guess yeah, they don't really have that type of offensive like look to them. I guess.
But these two look like they were made for a straight up fight.
I guess so. Yeah, just seeing like the equipment on the one on the left, one on the right, kind of reminds me of Deku's like costume already. But I
The
could see
left, it's
that like
got gauntlets, it's got everything.
I could see two spare chairs in front or like hiding behind Midoriya, so they could sit there, but they're not.
They're not ready to talk to Izuku yet.
I guess not. But yeah, in any case, we see them. They're facing the walls. This one is the danger sense one, I believe.
The fourth user.
Yeah, he says this too is destiny. The fifth, nah, just a matter of timing. Who's
The
this
sixth
one?
user.
The sixth user. My esteemed colleague Banjo has already spoken to you a bit about this. It's not Nana stays quiet. Uh, All Might is still transitioning. I guess is Deku's not able to? Yeah, he's not able to speak. But yeah, okay, go ahead, Mark. Otherwise, I'll just keep going. We are on
All
the
the
next page.
all the predecessors are with me in a dream again. Before we could only interact with you by weaving through the interstices. Does that say interstices? Of your
Yeah,
flickering consciousness. But let me get my door real quick because clearly people are starting stuff right now.
yeah. Go ahead. I'll take a swig while you're at it.
All right.
All right.
The interstices of your flickering consciousness, but that limitation no longer exists.
Oh, nice. Well, that
About
means they
four
could
months
talk more.
ago, about 4 months ago, my power, that is to say, one for all, began growing rapidly. Along with that growth, the vestiges of the predecessors within One for All took on more solid forms, and they are now able to communicate with each other.
Is he still talking about this?
Yep.
Okay.
You want me to continue? You want to take this one too?
I guess I'll take this one. In the earlier battle, my brother's power drew us out by sheer force. Right, this just happened, allowing us to appear before you more easily than before. Don't worry, kiddo. We still give you your privacy when you need it. Oh, I can think of the. I think it's some pretty good reasons. But all right, you ain't got a mouth. Did you see like Deku
All
just?
right, you ain't got a mouth.
He really wants to say something, but Deku's like, but wait, back there, I didn't manage to speak then. My mouth was formed just a little bit. I was like, oh yeah. He's trying to speak right now. He's like,
Oh
"Uh,
no,
tell me. What do you need to tell me? Man, just like, oh, nice, good job. And then, Danger Sense, allow me to explain. Loom.
this. I am the fourth. My name is Hikage Shinomori. In your last battle, you drew on my power without meaning to. Danger sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That came as a shock to me. Ori. Sorry. I get the sense that it would have. I get the
Good?
sense that it would have been that would have been better for you to discover danger sense in a better setting. That was well said. Let's see. I guess I'll keep going on this.
All right.
Shinomori here was a weirdo who should in modern society for the life of a hermit.
Damn.
Mine was a terrible era. They were the weirdos, not me. Do do you do you just dodging? He's just
Yeah.
dodging the black whips.
Yeah.
Like he's literally just dodging everything that Banjo's throwing at him thanks to his danger sense. He's like, okay, 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 okay.
Woof, 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 woof.
Do you happen to know how long I lived and what killed me? Oh, old a, is it ooh-eyed or e? You died at 40. Were not sure what killed you. It was written in All Might's notes, or rather, it was like he wrote something but erased it. I died of old age.
Excuse me? Did they not have modern medicine at the time?
Just give it a second.
Okay. Here we go. Next page, and I guess I'll take this one over. Oh, here we go. Old age. He was only 40, though. Banjo and I had no way of knowing my cause of death until Yagi told us after some research. I'll get straight to the point. As of now, One for All cannot be wielded by an ordinary person.
Here we go.
Which, like, I look at that, I'm like, kind of no shit, but also, like, there's
But it's
something
it's not
else.
the way you think.
Yeah, there's gotta be more, right? Okay, so I guess I'll continue here. Deku? Huh? Actually, like, verbally saying, huh? I possessed
Nani?
I possessed One for All, the second longest. Oops, sorry. I possessed One for All, the second longest, second only after Yagi. For 18 years, I evaded All for One and devoted my life to building up power. From the moment I inherited the quirk, I knew I could never defeat that villain. So I decided to spend my turn, so to speak, amassing further strength.
It's like boosting it up for the next user.
Wow, that's one way to look at it. In my final years, these cracks appeared on my body. Nani? I
So
thought,
basically, it's like imagine like the power's getting too much and his body starts cracking like pavement.
this is fair. Like I kind of see that in Deku sometimes. I thought it was an unknown disease of some sort, or perhaps I hadn't trained hard enough. When Yagi dug up my medical history and autopsy report, truth became clear. I say I die of old age because possessing multiple quirks effectively ate away at my very life.
So it's
Okay.
like
Okay, I got
for,
it.
it's basically like since he had multiple quirks, it was essentially like the Titan shifters. Like they have like 13 years.
Yes, that's what I'm starting to get at with this one too. Yeah. All right, next page. Go ahead, Mark.
Or your life. Oh hey, no way. But hang on a minute. One for All only grew stronger after your time, Shinomori, and All Might managed to hold onto it for much longer. That brings us to what we must tell you. When Yagi realized that possessing One for All places a terrible burden on the body, he thought the same thing. The others never held it for long, and since they died in battle, Yagi's only other point of comparison was himself, which is why he thought about what Shinomori had that he himself lacked. All Might
Hmm.
was quirkless.
Oh. Oh.
An
That's
empty
our.
vessel, so to speak.
Yes. Oh my God. Hold on. So, right. So the further accumulation of quirks like puts more of a burden on the body because that's so much that eats away at you.
Yeah, like
So
say if somebody else already has a quirk and you give that to them, it's like, overflowing. But if you give it to something that's empty, it has room.
It has room. All Might was quirkless.
A perfect vessel.
Ooh. Okay. I think that I take over for this one. Here comes the first still talking. Yes. Yagi still lives, but the knowledge he gained was passed to us via his shade in here. Oh.
His
That's it.
shade.
That's interesting. Cause yeah, that's a weird like I can't even imagine like him actually like thinking about that. And moreover, it's just like a sudden like circumstance or happenstance that he kind of exists like within two planes right now,
So it acts as a messenger for him.
which is really cool actually, and
Yeah.
it's super helpful. But there's no way that any of them would have like considered that because a lot of them do die in battle, so they had to pass it like right then and there.
Yeah, no
Um,
one knew how long they'd have.
he couldn't be entirely sure, so he didn't tell you. But what my brother said confirmed it. He spoke of how a person's essence is hardwired into their quirk factor. But then why would Yagi still appear here when he never had a quirk factor of his own? All this time we believed that the raw spirits of us predecessors resided within One for All. But in truth, those fragments of consciousness came about with the quirk factors of the second through seven successors. That is what One for All contains. Yagi is the sole exception. Only he imbued One for All with a true piece of his consciousness. That's what the fuck. But we get a better illustration down below here. A vessel with an existing quirk of its own could not receive One for All without warping or spilling over. And attempting to force it into it anyway results in a shortened lifespan as the fourth experience. For
I
40
like
years. Oh,
I
sorry, go
like
ahead.
the like the analogy used for it.
Yeah, it makes sense because if everyone's kind of like equal in vessel, of course, like if someone already has like portions of it already filled up, pouring everything else into the contents of it is overfilling it. So
Yeah.
an empty
It's like take
glass
for
can
example,
take it.
if you have an empty cup and you pour a drink into it, it'll be fine. But say if you have ice in it first, it's gonna have a lot less space for the drink,
Hmm. So,
and it's gonna overflow a lot easier.
so for 40 years, Yagi maintained his grip on One for All,
Look at the size of that cup. It's a chalice.
like a chalice. Just to make sure, when just to clarify, when talking about Yagi, this is more of a formal thing of saying like this is All Might. That's like All Might's like form like actual government name because I only know him by Torshinori. It was a
That's
perfect.
his actual name, Toshinori Yagi.
Mm-hmm. Because I never really see that name pop up. But yeah, Yagi maintained his grip on One for All. It was a perfect fit for his previously empty vessel, and as such, it truly became his quirk.
That's what I was assuming. That's why he can be there is because One for All became his quirk.
Yeah. By some twist of fate, this power that must pass from one to the next. Next page. All right, go ahead, Mark.
Wound up being meant for those who lacked power to start with. They are the ones who can draw out its true value, which I really like.
Damn.
Meaning that it's true that while yes, people are born with quirks, but in order to wield this, which helps to bring the balance of justice between good and evil, it requires those who truly have no power to wield power.
Mm-hmm.
You mean Izuku's just looking at his hands, he's like, you mean especially now that the predecessor quirks are manifesting, I definitely can't pass this on to a normal person. Like, the new normal in this society, which is someone who has a quirk.
Mm-hmm.
Like it has to go to somebody now who has no quirk.
Who has no power whatsoever.
And they're becoming more and more rare.
Yeah. Oh, you want to keep going, Mark?
Oh yeah, I guess that was a short one. One for all can't be transferred anymore. That's what you're saying. Quirkless individuals have all but vanished in your generation, and you're unlikely to come across another who needs such power. None of us knew any of this at the time, but as fate would have it, passed into his hands and then yours. If only we found a way to interact with the wielder sooner.
Damn. Next page. So much pain, suffering could have been avoided.
As we see
See
Night Eye.
Night Eye. Are you kidding me, dude?
Rip.
You get it now, kiddo? You might be the last wielder of One for All.
Like, he literally might be the last ever user of One for All.
Mm-hmm. So, here we have Deku looking at his hands. I could be the last one. Here's Nana. That's the real issue. Now, Izuku, tell me, can you kill Tomura Shigaraki?
What a question.
I mean, I guess that's like the fastest way to address the elephant in the room, right? It's literally good versus evil,
him?
and Deku is their last line.
You are legit the last line of defense now.
And considering that Deku tried, he tried everything. Could he do it? Like next time? Even I wouldn't.
There has to be records of people who don't have quirks. There has to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I mean, yeah, there's gotta be, right? Because actually, I don't really know like the actual medical history of it. We just knew that like when Deku was like quirkless, they were saying like, well, that's it's that's kind of like an evolutionary thing. Like you lack this
you like
joint, so therefore you're quirkless because you don't need that joint.
Or is it if you have the joint, you're quirkless?
Yeah, like those with quirks have like an extra joint in their pinky toe or something like that.
Yeah, like we have right now in our actual human like lives, like right now, we have these, but the people in My Hero's futuristic type of world don't have that joint.
So I always assumed then, and it's really weird because, you know, if you had superpowers, I feel like those would be the evolutionary thing. But of course, there's whole genetics and stuff like that. But
It's like the toe is just considered the precursor to the whole thing.
yeah, because I was thinking that Deku would then be technically the next step. Like he's genetically like evolved, but as a result, he loses the quirk. Which me like personally think like why would you lose your quirk and call that an evolution? That seems kind of bull,
No,
right?
I think the
But
thing is the quirks are supposed to be the evolution because they lack the joint that we have, like in our actual, like in the real world, we have that joint, but the people who have quirks lack it.
mm-hmm.
So I think Izuku is more like us, whereas quirkless people are considered an evolution.
Yes, okay. But yeah, but oh man, just dropping all of this, and I was really just hopping into this and knowing that we're gonna have this roundtable talk. I honestly anticipated that they would just come straight to a point of like, you nearly killed yourself. I was hoping that he like Deku just gets the earful, and that they find like the next step in the resolution. But I was pleasantly surprised with what they're doing here, which is literally talking about. Well, I guess they're kind of getting to that point. They're just really developing like the history of it, so it makes sense in the next chapter
That look
why
that
it's so
Nana's
important.
giving him at the end,
Because
just
ultimately,
that dead look.
mm-hmm.
She's asking, "Can you kill her grandson?"
Which is rough, right? Because like at this point, like she has to make peace with it. Like it ain't about me; it's about the fate of the entire world. Because the biggest bad is our enemy, and he's
And
currently.
she knows that's her grandson. But she's like, "You need to do it.
Yeah,
Can you take him down?"
it's literally the Avatar bit where it's like, I understand, like she's my sister, I should get along, and Iroh's like, nah, she crazy and she gotta be put down. I was like,
It's like the same thing that everyone said about Ozai. Like, you'd have to kill Ozai.
yeah, everyone's saying that. Like, I wonder if there's gonna be. Ooh, I don't want to really like connect them that way, where it's
Freaking
like,
take
oh,
his quirk away.
can you erase his quirk away? Can you take it?
Erase like all the quirks from Shigaraki.
Yeah, no, I don't. Like, if anything, you'd have like one of the users would have to be involved with that, right? Um, but we don't know anything about that. I'm not sure because honestly, dabbling with one for all, especially when you're like one of the first or second user, well, I guess second to like fourth users, you're trying to figure yourself out first and foremost and seeing what you can do, seeing what you're up
Hmm.
against, and seeing what you can do to like pass it on. If your goal is just to pass on the quirk, then you have to figure out every single thing in between. But um the fourth year didn't live too long. Granted, 40 years is still quite a long time, but
Yeah, the fourth, his name is Hikage Shinomori.
yes, the Kage over here, uh, honestly, like, did a really good effort in just trying to build up like what he can do because
Yeah, get as
he
strong as he
understood.
could before he passed away.
Yeah, which I guess in that case, like, I mean, and ideally, like maybe you'd want to pass down one for all to every single quirkless person, but in the meantime, you just keep building on that power. I never really like. I always just kind of understood it as like one's power just passed on to someone, so it cumulatively adds to that. But I never actually thought about them just improving on the quirk, like where they as they live. So that power now has grown even more so, and then they pass it like a
Yeah,
stockpile. Yeah,
but just like, it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
yeah. And this is just the fourth quirk. Deku's the ninth user.
Yeah, so I mean, here's the thing: the first quirk was just, it was just the
Whatever.
power. It was just the ability to stockpile power, but he
Yeah.
was pretty
So
powerless. He was sickly.
yeah.
One and his brother, all for one, gave him the ability to pass it on,
Hmm.
similar to what he can do. Only he can't give and take at will. He can only give.
Do you think All For One considered that like he didn't just like pass on like stamina like stockpiling? I mean,
Yeah,
he's
he
got it
gave him the
right.
because he knew his brother could store strength. That's what he knew his brother could do.
Okay. Yeah.
So he gave his brother the ability to pass it on as a way, like, let's just have this fun little game for a long time. Like, let's
I
see if
guess
one of
so.
you can beat me.
Because I know he forced it upon him, but in a twisted way, I would understand it as like All For One just simply caring about his younger brother.
But it's also a way of like a game to him.
Experiment, if anything.
And we could see number two over here. For a fact everyone's gonna keep going with the whole it's Bakugo bit.
Oh yes. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
He's got gauntlets, he's got the hair, it seems to be the right color.
It's me. Fucking nerd. What are you
Like,
doing in here?
only way I could see it is that they do some kind if they were to do like some kind of Dragon Ball like Trunks-esque kind of future thing.
What the fuck are you talking about?
It's the only kind of way I could see any either that or maybe a relative of Bakugo
I will say if it really is like a future Bakugo of any type of potential like alternative like way of
timeline.
getting their timeline, that would be absolutely bananas and everyone would not shut up about this for the rest of it.
I can definitely say that the third is definitely not Kirishima.
I am really curious about that, but yeah, it's weird with Deku right now because he's able to talk to everyone here in a way, but only 50% of him is in there. So the fact that like only two people are locked away from him is weird.
Yeah, he can't talk to two, or he can see them, but he can't talk to them.
Yeah, so he's still very limited in what he can do in here, but he's able to communicate. The craziest thing is the fact that Toshinori's like over there and he's able to use like his like a portion of him of like All for One to communicate with everyone else. Very
It's
strange.
like he doesn't talk to them, but his what they called it, his shade does talk to them.
And that's also strange too. So does this mean like he's been like conversing with them even away from Deku? Like I know that like
Maybe,
yeah,
maybe
because All Might
subconsciously.
yeah, because he like All Might has like said like in like these chapters that like oh I can feel like all for like one for all in the boy, but it's
But only
like
faintly.
only faintly.
It's because
So
like it burned out in him, but he can still feel it
guess so. So
because he knows the feeling. It's just that he can't use it anymore.
and what's strange too is that like he well I'm not sure. I mean like why did All Might never feel like their presence at all like throughout his entire career?
Well, that's because before, like he said they didn't really have a way to communicate.
Guess so. Like but that's true. So in the circumstances of the fight, that's when they were able to like come up.
That would also explain why that would also explain why All Might was never able to use other quirks. Possibly is because I mean he was just able to get by. He was able to get by with just the strength.
I guess he never needed it, but at the same time, like Deku never like really meant to awaken any other quirk.
Yeah, and on top of that, All Might also just had a really resilient body,
This is also true.
so he was able to handle it no problem.
Crazy, this All Might.
Yeah, he was ideal.
Yeah.
But the thing is, after he got injured, of course, like that led to problems. He could only use it for 3 hours at a time.
Yeah. And then it was like really short, like 30 minutes or so. Brr. But yeah, yeah, this is one of those chapters. It gets you thinking for a while. Because
So I say, man, recap on this one is not going to be easy.
recap, yeah, no. So Sport's quirk initially was just simply danger sense, and then he got the new quirk. And then he started to see like visible scars on his body as a
Like the one
result.
straight across his fucking face.
Yeah. So I mean, Deku has his scars, but that's simply because he overdid it. Um, but for those who actually have quirks already with them and pass it on, we're lucky that Deku was the one to receive the quirk and not Mirio.
Because it could have really killed Mirio.
Yeah, which is weird. I wonder if Deku's actually going to reflect on that, where it's like,
The fact that he felt bad, but now maybe he shouldn't because you might have just saved Mirio's life.
yeah. Although I wonder if he actually was able to give Mirio the quirk when he lost his quirk. Would that mean that it's simply now an empty vessel?
Technically, I would say, because it puts the quirk back into its dormant state.
Maybe. Because I'm not sure like what the actual drug the overall developed what it actually does other than maybe suppresses it or if
It reverses it back to before it appeared.
oh in that case yeah and I guess in that case it is technically just empty.
It's there. Well, I would say no because it's there. It just went back to being dormant.
Yeah, but one would wonder then like when if it was dormant then eventually it would come up again.
Yeah, and One for All might be able to boost that speed of bringing it back.
Maybe, yeah.
But of course, there's also. But the first, we only know one thing about the first's name, and that's that his last name is Shigaraki.
Hmm.
Because that's All for One said that was his last name. So the most we can assume is that the first's last name is Shigaraki.
Yeah.
And then with 2 and 3, we have no idea except for the numbers that, because like I said, there's the kanji for the numbers in each of their names.
Hmm.
Like there's that for the fourth, there's that for the fifth, there's that for Nana. So sixth, third, second, and yeah, those are the only two. Those are the actually yeah, those are the only three uses we're missing.
I was about to say, like, what about Toshinori's name?
Toshi, it's the thing for eight.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. And then
Yeah,
Izuku
Toshinori Yagi, like
Midoriya.
something in that is the name for does have the kanji for eight in his name.
Okay. I
I
never
know
really.
for six, for I think for six it's supposed to be Roku, so his name might have Roku in it, or it could just be Roku.
I see. Okay. I guess that's all right then.
And then for two, two is Ni and three is San. So we'll be seeing that used in some way, maybe.
Hmm. I never really considered that. I guess there was a lot more deeper like development, like as far as all for like one for all than previously conceived.
I know, like I really like what he's done with the. This is really interesting lore behind One for All.
Because you know when All Might was telling Deku like, oh, I was quirkless, you would think that like, oh, that's because well, it was kind of a moral statement on like one's power isn't bound by whether they have power or not. But it's actually now there was actually some conscious thinking about that actually. The only problem was that there was no way to really communicate with one another like that.
Until Izuku,
Hmm.
where and that's because All for One started meddling a lot more often.
Yeah, which is it's an unfortunate like circumstance, but it did bring up this potential because otherwise, without this scene, without knowing any of this, it's all assumed that they they're there, they live within it, but that's as far as it goes. For All Might specifically, it's just power. That's all it was.
Power
Not like these all these different consciousness that are able to converse. Well, at least now they
boost.
can.
It was a big boost for him. He was able to he was able to use his strength, air pressure, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
But he couldn't use. We didn't. It shows that he's never used like say Black Whip or Danger Sense or Float even.
Yeah. You never really could access them. And yeah, it's one
He didn't
reason
really
because
need
he
him at
didn't
all,
really need
honestly.
it. But Deck is also a weird like circumstance because one could say like it's because of like the circumstances of like villains like meddling and all this, but I guess like with Decker like right now, it's just simply because it's a matter of needing it as well. But how he was
Very
able to
desperate
like
time.
access like Black Whip just like right then and there, it almost appeared like on accident too. So I don't know. It's super weird, but we're
And
here
Roku,
now. So
and I'm just gonna call him Roku. Roku, he looks rather small.
yeah,
Like, granted, he's sitting in his chair oddly, like like he's sitting in his chair, like with his knees up, which I do sometimes. But like,
yeah. I mean,
like I'm just sitting there wondering how old was Roku when he got it and when he died.
I guess we'll find out. Like, I mean, obviously there's the notes, but
He looks rather young.
yeah,
And on top of that, I remember like there was a thing where he was like covered in blood, looking at Nana, like kind of like a happy, almost looking like a happy kind of face, giving it to Nana because he would have been the one who gave it to Nana.
right. That's real rough considering that like everyone in like this circle has met each other like that way, and most of them like on their deathbed or in the battlefield like right then and there.
Hikage gave it to Banjo went on his time, and then
Hmm.
Banjo in the middle of the battle gave it to Roku, but then Roku in the middle of the battle gave it to Nana. Nana gave it to All Might before she died,
Hmm.
and then All Might gave it to Izuku, and he's still alive.
Right. Wait, huh?
Good. It's just like, eh.
Everyone just half bloody giving it to their the next like successor. Meanwhile, All Might's like talking to Deku on the beach,
Eat this.
a very
Eh.
clean beach.
You cleaned the beach. Good job. Eat this.
But oh my god, there's a lot to talk about. Like the weird anomaly that is All Might and his shade, and
It looks like it looks like fire.
it's cool. Um,
It is really cool.
I was expecting to actually see like more of All Might, but this is also like really like cool to imagine.
Well, I'm just assuming when All Might passes, it's gonna be Prime All Might, like with his eyes and everything looking normal when he actually is in the realm.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like Silver Age, like All Might when he first met David or something like that.
That's what I was thinking, like looking like that.
Like as far as like seeing the eyes, maybe he'll still have like his red, white, and blue costume at that point.
Yeah, like that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we're gonna see him how he looked like with David as well.
David's
But
just like behind the chair, like, what the fuck? What are you trying to do? Get out of here.
we have no idea what Izuku will look like once he's in the realm because we have no. I don't know if we're ever gonna see that.
Oh, I want the. I mean, it depends because obviously, I know that there's actually like a story that's happening that's being adapted to like an anime right now. I'm not sure if the story finished, but it literally follows the character from rebirth to death. So I wonder if this will be kind of like Deku, where well, maybe not until like old age, retired and everything, but like we will see like him in his prime.
Because I do want to
It's,
see like what he would end up looking like with all the rest of the successors, just in one final shot, like at the end of the series.
yeah, I guess to be fair, like Deku has spent like about a year with all this power, and it's just been one, and he has. I mean, granted, like All Might, disgusting. He completed like that before he like got like left UA. So it'll
All
probably be the
Might,
same.
All Might was the natural. He was just doing amazingly.
Disgusting.
Disgusting.
You just built different.
He was busted.
Yeah, I think Deku will actually follow that kind of same pattern in growth, if not even sooner. I know that
Only more repercussions.
more repercussions. I remember that Horikoshi had stated like Deku's costume was his least favorite in design, which is funny, but it makes me wonder like what would he have in mind then for Deku, like for a final like costume design? Because as we see like the pinnacle, I guess, if you will, of Deku's design right now, you just see as the text pops up as you might be the last wielder of all for one, or one for all. And that's with his gamma suit, that's with the longer sleeves, but with the added gauntlets to them. So obviously I don't think that this is like last costume. There's definitely if anything, it would need
Be
to be
more
a costume that
upgrades.
can be similar to All Might's as far as like durability,
Well,
which is saying something.
there's got to be more upgrades.
Yeah, for sure. Because I wonder, like, now I'm thinking about like the costume and like what would be needed for that. Because remember in the movie, what was it Melissa had the arm strap right, and that can only do like 3 to 5 bursts of 100%.
It's like because right now the most he's upgraded his costume is the the iron shoes, and his gauntlets.
Yeah. But and you know when we had that talk about All Might, which is funny because that's also linked to the whole GIF that I found of Deku trying to find that image of All Might wearing like some support gear, was the fact that some gear can only like support like 20 to 40% of like what he can do. So for Deku, he's already probably reaching that point.
Yeah, the gear that can actually like withstand it all.
I really want to see that, and I think what was it Hatsume? She has her work cut out for her because I think her and Melissa are kind of like the only people who could possibly develop something.
That can withstand one for all.
Yeah, which is probably more important as to like why he needs to tell people. I know
That way they
that
can help him.
Yeah, I understand that All My Hits talked about how like it's important to keep this secretive because it's a big responsibility. But then I see the parallel to this is kind of weird. It's a parallel that I've seen in the recent like Marvel Spider-Man and Miles Morales, where it's people pointing out the fact that it's two different ways of handling the responsibility. Peter being like literally the first guinea pig, and so he doesn't tell anyone for the most part. But Miles, throughout the story of his PlayStation version of him, actually ends up having to tell like his friend, his mom, and that only helps him like as far as the support, but also like because it is like Genki he talks to, who actually helps develop a lot of the costume stuff. It only
Yeah,
helps him
because
more.
he knows how to help him.
Yeah. So in this case, I really hope that Deku takes that approach. I guess it might be forced here because Hawks is literally on the other side. But yeah, I hope that like the series does come out to both like Hawks, literally probably like the top three, if anything, and then Class 1A, and then literally the support class.
Big facts. I'm also just hoping we get an update soon about Fat Gum and Amajiki because I'm worried about those two still.
Yeah, I hope so too. But I'm thinking that the next chapter, which oh my god, we are not getting breaks here. It's on the
Horikoshi
14th.
said it is time to go plus ultra.
Or could you be like, go beyond? I'm plus exhausted.
Bro, he's explaining things hardcore. He explained Toya's backstory. He's explaining One for All's like in-depth lore. I'm just like, he's going in right now.
Yeah, and I think you kind of have to because the last arc really just popped off as far as like the intensity of it.
Yeah, like the war arc, it's like, how are you gonna top that?
How you gonna top that with more lore? That's what we'll tell you.
And some good ass lore.
Really good lore. Like, finally, some fucking food.
Finally, some fucking food.
Yeah. Oh my god. So things to anticipate next chapter. I'm hoping like if anything, it's still another like one for all just conversation where it's Deku still trying to mutter like what he's trying to say. He probably will say that like I tried to like end like all for one, but I couldn't. And so the issue at hand in that chapter will be how are they going to build Deku, considering that he could be the last one for all wielder?
He could be the
How
last, their last, like, basically their last fighter.
their last fighter to fight the evil of all evil. To
It's like,
so
that means he doesn't have a choice in this matter. He's gonna have to find a way to stop Shigaraki, whether that be killing him or some way of saving him.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because Deku says he wants to end it, but he did notice that Shigaraki needed help in that scenario. It's not his fault entirely.
Oh yeah, if you go back in Shigaraki's backstory, I mean, he never wanted to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
The time that he actually showed malice was that one time, and we're not gonna. That was sad as fuck, and that was dark as hell.
Yeah. And I get that part.
But
So,
it's like he wanted to be a hero at first,
yeah. I mean, everyone does too.
and
Story.
it's like he just had a really, really, really rough childhood.
Yeah, even with Nana being like a
His
user,
grandmother,
she never really got to see him.
Vic, she didn't get really to see her son that much because she was worried something might happen to him.
Yeah, and that's rough. So I think that'll be a huge conversation. I'm glad that Nana gets to be part of this conversation with Deku because she may not be like all my prime, but she understands like circumstances dealing with family, especially since she's so closely like tied to Shigaraki here. So I
That
think it
is true.
will.
She's extremely close, and that's the whole reason that All for One wanted to use Shigaraki's because to get at Nana and All Might.
This is true, and I think I can also expect like a debate too, because despite the first user pretty much saying like we'll follow this boy to whatever he wants to do, I think they will also like bring up like their own personal like prerogative here, saying like
Their
you
own
gotta end
standpoint.
him. Yeah, you gotta end him. But Deku's like, nah, I can't do that. And so
Gonna have to argue on whether to put Shigaraki down or not.
yeah, that's what I'm anticipating because I think that was in parallel to Avatar. I think that was a really cool moment just to be able to speak on the ancestors part and see like what they would say. But see Deku take a more honest path and kind of reaffirm why he's the ninth user.
The one who will end it, the one who will end the cycle,
The end all be all.
because the cycle's been going on, and Izuku could end the cycle, but it's like, how is he going to end the cycle? Is he going to end it with a blow, or with a hand to help somebody?
But like when we come to the answer, I really do hope that like Deku relies on others around him too, because that's needed. Because we look at the fourth, and he's like, I couldn't do it. I secluded myself. I tried to build as much as I can. A good effort, but I I can't fully agree with like that in the sense that like there's a lot of people around him too, or at least for Deku now. There's a lot of people around him who would be willing to help him. Bakugo being like the number one here.
Absolutely, Bakugo will help him out all the time. Bakugo's like, oh, don't try to do it on your own.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. I really
That's pretty
like
much
this
all we can say.
chapter. Yeah. There's like it's like really like stretching it out as much as you possibly could before it like you have nothing else. But
It was a very good chapter.
yeah, I really want to see like people's like conversations about like this particular chapter. There's just like a
What they
lot to
think about the
unpack.
lore and everything.
So yeah. I guess that's pretty much it. Mark, was there anything you wanted to add before we go ahead and call?
Nah, I'm good.
All right. In that case, we'll go ahead and end it here. So appreciate everyone for stopping by and sitting down. Let us know if you have anything you want to say about this chapter, whether it be here or on YouTube, or maybe in the next chapter we read it on Twitch. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Otherwise, next chapter is on the 14th, so we expect to come back here at 11 o'clock a.m. Pacific time for the next chapter 305. Guess that's pretty much it. Otherwise, just stay tuned like through the Twitter handle at DangIT Pro to find out when we'll be doing that. But otherwise, it should be the same schedule as usual. Yeah. All right. Go ahead and end it here. So thank you guys so much for watching. I noticed I've been kind of like out of focus here and there on this camera, but that's okay. Yeah. All right. End here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope to see you guys in the next one. Hashtag bye, everyone.